recording. So if you can get your Moodle page open and get your PowerPoint open that we were looking at yesterday, and those who weren't there yesterday, I hope you found it. It's way down below the heading Intensive Resources.
No, resources and readings.
Yeah, resources and readings. We're on the first PowerPoint of Willard and Frazee, PowerPoint 1. So if we could pick up there on page 11. But before we do that, I'm going to put it on my screen, and I'm going to move you lot to the right. So forgive me not looking at you. It's just that you're over there on the right. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be on PowerPoint 1. But before I do that, I'd love to share a scripture, please, if I may. Psalm 119, verse 69 and 70. It says, "The godless spread lies about me, but I focus my attention on what you're saying," as in what God is saying. "They are bland as a bucket of lard, while I dance to the tune of your revelation." Now, I'm not going to discuss with you whether you like the message or not, but I do. I was given this at the age of 60, and I thought, wow, let's go into a new season of life. I've been reading proper versions all my life. I thought, well, blow it. I'll read a new one. So here I got into Psalms, into the message. "So the godless spread lies about me." I don't know about you, whether you can say that. I think that's highly strong language. But how about this? Some can't see your motives, and they have a twisted view of your intentions. Basically, I think it's saying to me, there are some, and there'll always be some, who just don't get it, and their misunderstanding of you can be very hurtful. So the psalmist says, "But I focus my attention on what you say." So if our focus is on what God is saying, and not too worried about what other people say, not that we particularly intend to ignore them or block them out, but let's focus our attention on what God says. These people are like as bland as a bucket of lard. Now, do you know what lard is? Just testing. I see some nods. Yeah, lard. It is. It fills me with revulsion. My mum, way back in the 60s, used to cook in lard, and I've had nightmares ever since of her doing that. I'm such a fan of cooking in olive oil, but she used to cook in lard. While I dance to the tune of your revelation. So I'm encouraged. I hope you lot are encouraged. Okay.
Verse was that, Dr. Jim, please.
9 and 70.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so move you over. Willard Frazee. And page 11, I hope you're getting there as I do.
What does page 11 have on it? Because our pages aren't numbered. They all say 0.
Page 11 starts off Renovation of the Heart 1.
Great.
Think of someone who you know feels discouraged or rejected, call them or email them with some encouragement. So that's where I'd like to pick up today, if that's okay with you. The first orange prayer I found really helpful. Dear God, you made me, so you must understand me. I think that's pretty helpful. I choose to use my body to love and serve you. I choose to connect with you and other people in love. I give you my whole self, my soul. So I give you permission to reconstruct and redirect me for your purposes. Comments? Oh, hello, Aidan, Ben, good to see you.
Good
Kristin, good to see you. As I was saying earlier, feel free to unmute your mic unless you've got a really noisy background like Yvette might have as she spins around roundabouts,
I've
etc.
got my daughter here, so I'll keep it on mute while she's
Okay.
around.
No worries.
What day are we on for the PowerPoint slides? Is that in the intensive folder?
No, I think it's a wee bit lower than that. If you get in the folder, sorry, are you 522 or 322?
322.
I think I've got 522 open at the moment, so apologies.
It's topic 12, there were slides.
Yeah, in mine it's 13. It's way down, and
so
it's near the top of a window. Willard and Frazee, 2005, Renovation of the Heart, Part 1.
In readings?
In section
Yes.
12.
Yes.
Part,
Okay.
part one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Page 11. Right. So, any comments about that prayer? The fact that God's made us, therefore He must understand me. Any reflections there, Paul?
Oh, you're asking me now. Oh, okay.
Well, yay! That was a very cheeky comment from me, Paul, because you were talking to somebody else at the time, and
It was sorry. It was just my mum. She was asking if I wanted some tea.
And you said,
I said yes, of course. I can't deny
great.
tea.
Do say hello to your mum.
Yes. Jim says hi. She says hi back.
Right.
Anyway, on that prayer, I don't really have much to comment. It's kind of self-explanatory. It says what it says.
Okay.
I don't really have much to add.
Okay. Anyone? All right. Page 12 then. Moving down to 12. It says in orange there, deconstruct decisions on your journey that have been, in retrospect, against your deepest principles. Now, and above that, it's talking about the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Now, I was having a wrestle with myself on that one and raking back through my days, have I made decisions? I'm talking big ones that have been against my deepest principles. And this doesn't intend to sound arrogant, and I hope you won't receive it as such, but I haven't been able to identify any. I haven't been able to identify any major decisions I've made that in retrospect have been against my deepest principles. I once remember I was teaching at school in England for years and years and years, and I remember the chaplain at the time. It's just really weird. One phrase that this chaplain said over 20 years period in the school, he said, he lives without any regrets. And so when I hear somebody talking about their life and regretting that this and that and the other had happened, I keep thinking about what that chaplain said, and I've tried to live as best I'm able, without regrets. So if something terrible happens, my focus is, okay, that's going to turn out for good. I trust at some point, maybe not now, but it will. And I'll give you one trivial, well, not trivial to me. I'll give you an illustration. This June, July, my wife and I were to have been going to England to see family. We would have been off for 4 weeks. Now, that isn't going to happen. We've had to cancel the flights. But the outcome of that is, I was very upset about not being able to do that. It had been planned for years. But we might be able to go off in our caravan for 2 weeks in the middle of the year to have a break, which wasn't planned. And whoa, we've never done that. We've never ever done that in the middle of the year, and that might be fantastic, which we would never have had the opportunity to do. So, out of bad things, good things come. Enough prattle from me. Anyone like to or feel they can share? How do you respond to that? What I just said about, do you live with regrets? Do you have a sort of list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? These are things I've done in my life that I jolly well wish I hadn't. Or do you live without regrets?
I do. I have quite a few. Not that they get me sighing and make me feel like a bummer every time. I know to work on and move on, because that won't decide the future for me. But I would say any time I've had to seriously reckon over the truth, over doctrine and all that, and every time I've tried to twist scripture to fit a belief I already had, those would probably be the biggest of my regrets. And ever since, for maybe at least the past 3 years, maybe, I've been attempting to avoid that completely. And I think it shows, because like, if you look at my beliefs from 3, maybe 4 years ago versus today, they've totally flipped just with an honest investigation of God's word. And then the other one would be with my totally lacking spiritual relationship side of my faith for a very, very long time, only until very recently. And even then, I'm only an infant right now in comparison. So those would be my main ones, but they serve as some guidelines for the future.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Paul.
I think, like, personally, I try my best not to. I think as a Christian, like, we can't, because whilst God does give us free will, there's sort of this idea that everything happens in his plan. And then so therefore, if we're not sort of, if we're looking back and stuff and being like, oh, I should have done that, shouldn't have done this, then that's sort of not agreeing with his plan, I guess. And whilst there's like things that we maybe could have done wrong, we may have done wrong that we might have wanted to like revert or not do, but we can't look at our past, we can only look forward. I forget what scripture, I think it's in Hebrews they talk about it, but yeah, that's just my view on it, I guess.
Thank you, Chara. Thanks very much. Welcome, Luke. You just popped in. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Hey, Luke.
That's cool.
Oh my God, that background.
That's cool.
Trouble finding the link.
That's cool. We're on page 12 of the first PowerPoint.
Okay.
And we were talking about whether we live with regrets in life or whether we don't. And on that orange question, deconstruct decisions on your journey that have been in retrospect against your deepest principles. And I was confessing that I can't think of any. There may have been, but maybe they've been papered over or painted over in the past, and they've gone completely from my memory now. I don't know. Anyone itching to share or go on?
I think
Yep.
there's also the idea of learning from the decisions that went against the principles and going, right, why did I make a decision, and sort of cluing into Paul's, right, was I changing scripture to fit what I wanted? Was it decisions that were out of my hands that I had to, in a workplace or something where it's like, right, this is what you have to do, even though you're like, right, that doesn't work. It goes against what I sincerely believe should actually be happening in this situation. And it's more taking that and using it to inform future decisions, not forgetting or ignoring, but changing the decision-making pathways to
Love
make
it.
better
Yeah.
decisions.
Love it. Love it. That is great. If we are learners, as Paul was saying, spiritual learners all the time for all our days, that is a brilliant mindset to have. Love it. Can we go to page 13? Now, this particular photo,
I think it's John Calvin.
if you're getting to know me, you will realize that I'm just a complete nut when it comes to images and photos. I chose this picture because it, to me, looks like a really fantastic house, but it's in incredibly poor shape. Towards the right there, never mind having no windows. It's got no walls at one point. It really looks very, very sad. Would it be a house I would invest in? Yeah. Because I love a challenge. Is it a picture of my house? Is it a picture of me? Do I have windows blown out and walls missing? I think it's a great analogy. Anyway, that's just me. On page 13, it says, it talks about dying to self. And I must confess, throughout my Christian walk, it's just because of the background I come from, I guess. It's been part of my language, the dying to self idea. So, what does dying to self mean to you now, and what do you think it will mean to you, for you in the future? Anyone? It's Thursday morning.
I
That's
think-
fine.
Yeah.
Kellyanne, yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry. I think it's going to mean the way that we behave in the classroom towards parents is going to keep most of what we think to ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else like to raise a reflection on what dying to self might mean? Yeah, Paul.
Dying to self is ultimately a denial of an absolute individualism, that we are not just a single whole part that can operate independently, and also a rejection of the idea that we are our own masters when really we are a slave to something at all point. So dying to self is really just a recognition of a fact that's always out there. Humans are social creatures. We are always bound to some form of community. We're never a completely self-sustaining whole. We're just one part of a larger organism known as a community or a society, or in our case, the church, especially. And then with the recognition that we are not our own masters, it makes it easier for us to accept that, hey, I'm not in control of myself. Even if I think I have a will to do something, ultimately it's in service of one of many gods. So I may as well choose the right one and follow him.
Thank you, Paul. While you were talking, I was thinking about each of us going into a school community.
Mhm.
And let me just pose to you a little picture. When you get into your classroom and you've got your class, to me, there's something very symbolic about shutting the door. Now, some schools will have you teaching in open plan classrooms where you can't shut a door. Now, some of you won't be fussed at all about having a door shut. No, you know, I've known teachers for whom it's the last thing on their mind. There may well be a door, but they never bother shutting it. In fact, I might be in another classroom and go around to their room and say, hey, look, you lot are having so much fun. Can I shut the door so we don't have to listen to you? And I have to shut other people's door. So why am I mentioning this? Well, I think in a school context, even though you might be the individual who loves to have a door shut and have your class with you, you are part of a team, and you don't have all the ammunition and all the gifting that the whole of you do in total. And it's great when you can mix and match and team teach and bounce ideas off each other. Some of the best times I can recall are when I was with a team of teachers. Far more comes out when you're in that context than if you're on your own. In which case, you have to diet yourself. You can't just have what you want. You have to have what the group wants. And in the group's timing, and frustration sometimes, but it works in the end. Any further reflection on page 13?
I've noticed it's been really hard with the home learning that my kids' teachers have wanted to implement stuff and provide us with curriculums, and they've had to do what the head of primary or whatever has said that they needed to do as a group, full stop.
Yeah, I take my hat off to the teachers who've just dived into this online learning thing. I mean, I personally find it relatively easy. Whether you feel it's working or not is another story. But if I had to jump through the hoops that state school and independent school kid teachers are having to jump through, whoa, that would be monumental. Page 13, and that is the end of that. Okay, so I'm closing PowerPoint 1 and I'm opening PowerPoint 2. And what I'd love to do today is get up to page 19 in here. So if you could find yourself in PowerPoint 2, that would be great. And on to page 2. Now, I personally find this a great activity to do, and I would encourage you to do it this week. Consider the various dimensions of your life. I write them down in a circle and use a pie chart idea to divide up my life and measure the degree to which you allow Jesus to permeate that area. So that would be the circumference, the radius, how far out into each of the segments of pizza do you allow Jesus to come into those areas of your life? I find it a very therapeutic activity to do, and commend it to you anyway.
Is there an indication of what these random dimensions are? Because I
Well,
assume you're not looking length, width, and height, which is what my brain's gone to.
Sorry, Heidi, repeat the last bit.
I presume it's not length, width, height, or the area of the circle, which is where my brain's gone. What sort of dimensions are you talking about? It's unclear.
Yeah, I would draw a circle and then chop it into
I can do that.
segments.
What are the dimensions?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you mean
I would say at the
where can I
moment,
find it?
yeah, I'm having a think. I would say that at the moment, about 160 degrees of my circle, so nearly half, would be Alpha Crucis.
It's 9:30.
Thank you. Alpha, it would be Alpha Crucis teaching and learning and administration.
Oh, so how much time is taken up by each bit?
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, I like to have 8 hours sleep, so
Right.
8 out of 24. And then, you know, it'll be
right, that is
interesting.
totally not where my brain had gone. My brain had thought that we were doing the circle chart like a spider web and multiple dimensions around multiple ideas of time management.
Well,
and
I mean,
how were you doing all those things? Okay, right.
Heidi, feel free. There are loads of different ways. This is just the way I would have done it. And it would be interesting to reflect on how much of Jesus comes into your sleep. Now, would you say 0? Would you say 100%?
The answer is it doesn't actually matter because it is unconscious thought at that point in time, and God can use it as He needs.
Yeah, cool.
That's interesting.
Love the answer.
Actually, a really good question.
It is. I mean, don't you wake up sometimes and think, boy, God's done a work?
Yeah.
Not sometimes,
but I can't predict it.
No, you absolutely not. But when He does, you think, boy, that was amazing. Where did that come from?
It might even make a difference if I prayed before bed or if I listened to worship music as I sleep or something like that. Anything.
Yeah. I like to do the Lord's Prayer before and after bed.
Cool.
It can depend on what you're doing before you go to bed.
Yeah, that too.
What you're watching on TV, everything.
Yeah. I'm watching
have your phone
some
next to your bed.
Netflix thing and it's like wasting time and it's not good for my
No
brain.
phones near bed, come on.
Yeah, I'm still a victim of that, unfortunately.
Oh, Paul will pray for you.
Thank you. Actually, not a victim, I'm a perpetrator. I'm guilty. I'm a perpetrator. I'm guilty.
Okay, page 3, folks. You can go there. Now, on there's some nice links for you, which I commend to you in your own time. But if you could look at the 1 to 6 habits. Now, I found this list really helpful to consider, because when you're running your life at a great speed, I find that I don't differentiate in the way this list does. So I commend those to you. Any comments? Now, look at number 6. Consider all the points above. I just can't bring myself to forgive her, or put in there, forgive myself.
How are you defining forgiveness and what do you mean by it?
How would I define forgiveness, and what would I?
Forgiveness being defined in this
Yeah.
context.
Well, for me, and others, please jump in. That's a great question. For me, forgiveness would be where the offence has gone from my memory. That would be my ultimate one end of the spectrum, and the forgiveness process to get there would be when it no longer hurts, and I remember the incident or the whatever happened, and that's clear, but it no longer plays a tape in my head, just repeating. It's like a video on loop.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's like in 1 Corinthians 13 where it says love keeps no record of wrongs. It's like if I'm keeping a record of wrong, then I haven't forgiven, I think.
Cool. Thanks, Luke. Excellent. Oh, 9:35. I want to go a little bit further. So I commend that list to you. Moving along to page 5. Now, that picture, I confess I took myself, and it relates to point 2 down the bottom there, icons and iPods. And I suppose I'm not no expert at all, but I believe that's an icon. But
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
I'm also a mosaic. I'm not sure if it has.
It is a mosaic,
purpose.
sure.
Yeah.
It is, yes. Let me just tell you, I don't love telling people where I took the picture.
In an art gallery.
No, not in an art gallery. It's on the ceiling or wall. I think it might have been the wall, that one. On the wall in the Sophia Museum in Istanbul.
Oh, the Hagia Sophia. No way.
Which used to be a mosque and used to be a Christian church before that.
Yeah.
So I find it so ironic that there is now a museum and you get folk from all around the world going and seeing that in the architecture of a mosque as we know it today, with the dome, etc. But it's a classic Christian icon. I just find that beautifully ironic. Love it. If you look at the text at the bottom there, assuming you're still with us, yes? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I think you're still all awake. Fantastic. Assuming you're still with us, you have a vision. Do you have a vision for transforming your thoughts and presumably an intention of sorts to be part of the process? Without means to transform our minds, thoughts and visions and intentions are useless. And those 3 practical steps, you can, the authors, Willard and Frazee, are suggesting may be means towards a transformation. Now, comments.
When I printed off the resource of chapter 7, Willard and Frazee, I found it helpful to go through some of the language I found was different to my theology. So I changed the word vision to desire in my mind. That kind of helped me to understand, because I found vision a bit vague.
Sure.
Sharing.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
The plan and the way of actually getting there is important as well as an idea to do it.
Yeah. Now, Heidi, I what you've just said there has, how can I put this?
Well, at least I actually understand it.
You've basically, by what you just said there,
Yeah.
which is, if you like, an acknowledgement that there is a process to be gone through. Whereas what the opposite of that will be, I'm a pawn in the traffic of life, and what will be will be. To me, have you got steering wheel? Have you got the accelerator and the brake in control? Or
At the moment, no, the world has gone mad.
But to some degree, I think you can still hold on to the steering wheel and still hold on to the brake and the accelerator of your life. And what you're saying is an acknowledgement that there is stuff to be done.
Yeah.
Whereas if you didn't have that acknowledgement, I think that it would be hard to go on, because you'd basically be saying you're happy with yourself as you are, and it doesn't need any renovation, which I think is going to lead to trouble down the track.
So Dr. Jim, if I agree that we need to be changed to be more like Christ, but how to with it saying with the means, the solitude, the worship, and the things that we put in place to transform our heart, how does that come up with by faith alone through grace alone?
James. That's James, I think.
Very, very good question, Shelley-Ann.
Could I have a crack at that?
Yes, Paul, go.
So you're basically asking, just to make sure I get it right, how can we say by grace alone, by faith alone, and yet we're talking about means for renewing our mind? That's what you're asking? How can they both be true?
Yeah, I don't like the language because I don't do it. I need to respond to what God's done, but it's His work that He did.
Yeah,
not mine.
That's fair enough. I think the solution would be that we have to disentangle justification, or like God's absolute forgiveness of our sin, from the process of sanctification, which comes after, and which is when we are made more holy. With justification, it is totally by faith alone, by grace alone, through the death of Christ. That's it, once and for all paid. But with regards to sanctification, that is an ongoing process that can, and many people do, use certain means for, such as, for example, images, music, or self-help gurus, if you will.
So is what you're saying the work out your salvation with fear and trembling, that sort of thing?
But Luke, you're on the money.
But
yes.
it doesn't have in this chapter, Dr. Jim, scripture. It's missing.
I know. Yeah.
Sorry, which slide are we on again?
Oh, in the chapter 7, this Willard and Fries, it gives you the steps, the means. It's so, like with this slide, it says the means to transform our, so memorize, meditate, all of those sorts of things. And I just wanted to point out that.
Yeah.
I think sanctification.
Shelley-Ann, one of the things I was thinking about with these slides here is the value of discipline. And if I may say, as a teacher of 40 years plus, I would say one of my biggest helps has been to develop discipline, self-discipline. And when that's gone ragged, that's when I've got into trouble. Now, Luke, you work out your salvation with fear and trembling. I think discipline and self-discipline is one of those things that it's okay to have when you're in the gym and you're doing all that stuff. but to have self-discipline to improve your spiritual health, you know, we will focus more readily on the grace, rather than focusing on, well, there is a need to develop habits of mind.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So that's an excellent discussion. Thank you so much, folks. I'm a bit conscious I want to get to where I want to get to before 10. So forgive me, I'm going on unless you're going to scream at me. On page 6. Now, as you know, I love photos and putting meanings into photos. And if you look at this photo here, you can see maybe the morning sun or the setting sun. So the sun is a little bit orange. You can see rusty barbed wire, a fence that's had an awful lot of history, an awful lot of weathering been going on. That fence / style, we call it in England, where you can get over a fence without injuring yourself. Maybe that's what that is. To me, it's a brilliant photo of transformation. It's still beautiful, even though it's pretty worn out. And I guess my prayer is that you lot will be still looking beautiful at the end of your careers, even though you will have seen a huge amount of traffic. And number 7, paragraph 2. That means for most people, the renovation of our feelings only come after we've hit rock bottom. Most people can't envision who they would be without fear, anger, lust, power play, wonderness that they have lived with for so long. In that paragraph there, I'm just wondering whether there are elements of your history that you're carrying with you on your backpack that you probably need to leave on the side of the road, or whether you're traveling light and you're not carrying a whole bunch of stuff with you that you shouldn't be. And at that point, I just want to leave it there. And page 9. Now, how are you traveling? That really, apparently, is a phrase that I use for students. It annoys some people. So what I mean by that is their journey through life. And it isn't, I'm talking about, have you come to your house by a bus or a car, or did you walk? I'm not talking about that. When I say how are you traveling, how are you going? It's just my language, and you have to forgive me, I'm sorry. Give yourself some quiet, reflective time. And Suzanne, you were saying at the beginning today, you've enjoyed this season.
Yes.
It may be painful to conduct a personal audit, but the benefits are profound. Try this scaffolding to structure your reflections. Now, I'm definitely a linear thinker. So, you know, I think, I know where I was born. Absolutely important to know where I was born. I know where I am now. Absolutely important to know where I am now and where I've come from there to there. Yeah. But some of you may be mind map people who don't think linearly at all, in which case enjoy the mind map and go in all sorts of directions at the same time. But what I would love to do is leap out of this PowerPoint now and get you to go into, in the same window in Moodle, you'll see 12's 2017, My Educated Journey. And there are 21 slides in it. So if you could just go there a sec, that would be super. Are you all there? Do I see a thumbs up?
Yep.
Cool. So,
That's a lot of pictures.
yeah. The first one of the stream with the bridge over it is probably 10 miles from where I was born. And I would go there as a youngster often as a place to reflect. Now, if you look in the right center of the photo, you'll see a stone by the wall with a hole in. Anyone know what that is?
A millstone?
Yeah, it's a millstone. So this area would have been, I guess, a farming area, still is, and that would have been used to grind corn sometime in the past. This, we call it a ford in England, and this is where cars can drive across the stream without getting bogged. The road doesn't have a bridge, but the people do. So to me, this is one of the favorite spots of my early days. If you look at the next picture, my address from the age of 8 was number 25 Fairy Dell. And there was a hoax in England, in this part of the world, where some people who were just playing with the early forms of photography managed to create some images that fooled many, many people in England, and it was preserved in the name of my street, namely Fairy Dell. And I think this picture of the girl on the left, she's part of the conspiracy. It amuses me. The next one is a full-length school where I went to school from the age of 12 to 18. It was a Moravian school near Leeds. And you see the clock tower in the background. Well, in the foreground is the boys' school. There was a chapel with the clock tower in the middle. And then the far buildings are all the girls' school. So we shared a chapel, but we had separate schools, separate headmasters. I really enjoyed my high school days. I didn't enjoy my primary school days, but the main reason I enjoyed these high school days was because of certain key teachers who I guess had a massive impact on me becoming a teacher. So that's that. Now, the next one, I went to Aberystwyth University for 3 years to study geography and geology. And that is not my picture, sadly, but I spent many, many hours, I guess, walking along that promenade and climbing that hill, which was called Constitution Hill, behind. Such really fond memories of my undergraduate studies. I didn't take the next picture either, but I was there obviously through 3 winters. And then to Sheffield Uni, and the 12th floor of that tower block is where education was. So I did my teacher training there. And on the left, can you work out what they are? Anyone?
That's at the left-hand side of the kitchen.
It's not a kitchen.
Rubbish. What?
You've
No
muted yourself again. Unmute, Luke, unmute.
They look like desks on.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to see, but
Oh, it's like cupboards.
it's not. It is a little bit like a cupboard, but it's actually a paternoster lift.
A what?
A
Paternoster.
paternoster lift.
How far?
So-
Yeah, I thought it might be some sort of lift.
So
It
the
looks
left-hand
weird.
side would be, there's a shelf which is moving upwards, and on the right-hand side, a shelf moving down. And what you have to do is you have to jump in or jump out onto this shelf while it's moving.
Oh,
And then you go to your different level. So it's a lift without a door, and you can get about 4 people, I think, on each shelf. It was, I've only ever seen it there. I've never seen it in any other building in the world. It was a pretty big memory of getting to classes, going up the pattern, and it was really quick because it never stopped, of course. So, and often we used to think, oh, what would happen if we stayed in to the top of the building? Would we be turned upside down, come down the other side? But apparently you go up and you shunt, and you drop. But I never had the courage to do that.
Was it scary?
I got used to it, but initially, oh man, it was very scary. You see the handles there, handles inside the lift and handles on the doorway. They were very, very important to steady yourself. The next one, that's a shot of the original part of Sheffield Uni. And for me, history is so vital, because that bit that you're looking at is the university that my father went to. And he studied Latin and Greek and French when he was at Sheffield University. So it was really weird me going to the same uni as him. The next one is of Oldham School, where I was for 19.5 years. That's the library. That is not a natural shot. That was staged by the marketing team. When I was first there were no girls, but they took girls eventually into year 11 and 12, and later on further down the school as well. And the next shot, number 10, is a picture of the school and our school buses. The library is above the CHO of the school, that building there. And the building on the left is the tuck shop, and my wife and I had the top floor of that as our home for a year when we first got married. Nice. So, and 2 years. And our eldest daughter was born when we lived there at the end of May in 1978.
That is a really nice library.
It is. And then to Geelong in 1992, I came to Geelong, Victoria, for a year on exchange. Had a wonderful time. In 1998, I went to Melbourne Uni to do postgraduate study and eventually a PhD. Page 13, that's Cedars Christian College in Wollongong, New South Wales, where I was principal for 5 years, I think, before moving to Queensland, where I was principal of Australian Christian College, Moreton.
Oh.
And for a year and a third, sorry. And it's got another branch near Riverston, the same college. And if you go to page 16, for your major assignment, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend you to do some personality profiles. Now, this is me, which I did in 2017. And what I find really helpful, if you use this system, and there are links on the Moodle page, if you use this system.
It is. Find them.
Sorry, Heidi?
Where are the links? Because I can't find them.
You can't.
When you finish this, can you show us where the links are? Because
Sure,
I can't find
I will
them.
try. They may be in the end of PowerPoint 2. I will check.
This one
Okay.
here is pretty easy to find. You just search up 16 personalities.
That's it. Yeah, that's
I've
it.
actually done it, and I know exactly what mine is. Yeah,
It's a really good one, and because
I like it a lot.
the text that they give you afterwards, now you wouldn't, please don't just copy and paste it into the end of your essay, but if you wished to, you could stick them after your essay as appendices and refer to them if you find particular phrases or paragraphs really helpful. So have a go. And I found the text really helpful, and people over the years who've done this course have used that as a sort of stepping stone to get them to finish off that major essay. And on page 21, you'll find some people who maybe have the same code as you. So if you don't know me yet, I'm a bit of a rebel, I guess. So I like to find causes to fight for. Martin Luther King.
What line is that again? What letters?
My letters are on page
INFJ.
16, INFJ/T.
INFJ.
Yeah, it's now 10 o'clock, folks, if you didn't know.
Okay. INFJ, nice. That's it. Sorry, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, yeah, who was that? Yvette.
What did you say? Is this 16 personality types? That's what you Googled?
Yeah, Luke, what was it again?
16 personalities.
Yeah. I think it's also called Myers-Briggs. Is that as
Oh,
well?
Yeah.
that's
That's the name of it.
That's a version of it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. The 16 personalities is the preferred.
That's the website that does the test for free.
Yep.
Thank you, Luke. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 o'clock. I've talked too much today, and I'm sorry about that. Any burning questions are you sitting on that you would really love to share now? Go, you have your opportunity. Ben, I love the painting. Is there a painting behind you? What's the painting of? I'm trying to get him to talk if you haven't noticed.
I think it's just I really don't know. I think it's just paintings of flowers, but it's just my boss got it for the office. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, tomorrow 9.
Yes.
Now we must have a re-look at the assignments due tomorrow, as well as I want to finish off PowerPoint 2. So, yes, Luke, I see that hand.
Yeah, I've got a doctor's appointment at around 10:15, so I might have to leave early tomorrow.
Cool. So maybe we'll look at the assignments front up.
Yeah, sounds
We'll
good.
do that. We'll look at the assignments front up. Yeah. Yes, Yvette.
Where's the where's the recording from yesterday?
Under video resources. No?
Oh, yeah, I see.
You see it?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't looking there before.
Yeah, sorry. I'm always putting the video recordings on top of that pile. If you look at the other ones, they're from previous years. They may be helpful. It's up to you. Have a little scan through if you wish.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great day, folks. See you.
Awesome.
God bless. Bye.
See you, Dr. 12.
Um,
Hey, Jim.